Philadelphia. I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show.
Good morning, everybody. Well, happy Thursday to all across the Delaware Valley. This is the Anthony Gargano Show, presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out TrueMark.com/PHLY. Stop into a local branch today to learn more about the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. Well, welcome in. This is actually a really good time because we're about to end the All-Star break. Tomorrow, Phillies are back. Man, don't you miss them. We were talking about it this morning. What did you watch last night? You know, who's watching? I know the VG's watch. He loves his reality shows. He was watching that. Everyone's watching something else. Of course, Caden Sullivan, 14 years old, makes his debut for the Union in the 85th minute of the game last night. And it's a great story. Local kid, the youngest youngest pro athlete ever to play, 14 years old. And just seeing the clip of him out there and, going, it's a great moment. They're a great Philadelphia family. It's very, very cool. So, but this is this is the perfect time because it's about to get real. Like we're 6 months into the calendar, right? And this is always the dead zone of sports, All-Star break. From 4th of July through the All-Star break, it starts to die. It's like kind of a dead time. And now camp will begin shortly. Football on the horizon. And you could smell it. Baseball trading deadline. Rumors, Phillies, and Tommy Pham. I'm not in love with that one. We'll talk all about that. But it's about to get real. And today we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk a little Penn State football. Adam Taliaferro will be here at 10 o'clock to talk a little Penn State. Drew Aller and the Nets, they're going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It'll be a fun season. So we'll talk to Adam about that a little bit. But let's talk a little football. And I want to talk a little football from a different aspect. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about the Eagles. And we were discussing how much the fan base tortures themselves. Like we torture ourselves when it comes to the Eagles. It's like we can't extract joy. See what happens nightly at the Phillies game, right? Now, of course, they're a great team, and everybody realizes that. But there is a different sort of atmosphere. And I get the difference. 162 v 17. We understand NFL is, ratcheting it up. It's almost, deathly serious. Every game matters, completely. But even how we approach the Birds, we approach them with almost a negative tone. And I really want to dive into that kind of nuance today. And it even happened this morning during our morning meeting. So we were talking about Hard Knocks and how pathetic the Giants look. I mean, Joe Shane, who runs the Giants right now, looks like a buffoon, an absolute buffoon. The owner is saying, when they were talking about Saquon Barkley a couple episodes ago, and the owner's saying, there's Mara going, oh, man, if he goes to Philadelphia, I'll be brokenhearted. Meanwhile, Shane's going, I don't think the Eagles have been quiet. I don't think they're going to be interested. It's unbelievable. He just looks clueless without any sort of plan. None. Whether, what's their long-range drafting, plan? How do they want to build their team? They look like complete amateurs. So, obviously, if you're an Eagles fan, you go, hey, this is great, right? Like, the Giants, one of your principal rivals, appear dead in the water, and who knows how long that could happen. We know about the Cowboys and how dysfunctional the Cowboys are. The Commanders are, they might as well be they're without a pulse. Now we'll see if they can get turned around because they've hit rock bottom. So you look at the rest of the division, you go, wow, this division is really bad, right? Like they're run poorly and there's issues everywhere inside the division. And so you think, you feel good about, if you're an Eagles fan, you feel good about that whole prospect. But of course, our producer, Skeeves, Andrew Frazier, says, well, it would be a colossal blunder if the Eagles didn't win the division. And I'm thinking to myself, that is such a negative statement. And again, I'm not telling you that you got to be, pooping pom-poms, all right? Like, I'm not telling you got to do that sort of thing. But, I mean, right off the bat, it was like something good for the Eagles is like, well, they better be able to do it. And I had a conversation about this yesterday with a friend of mine and who works in sports, and we were talking about this. And he said, it's interesting because the goalposts are always moving for the Eagles. It's like, all right, you gotta win the Super Bowl, right? It always starts with that one. But there's never any kind of like, all right, even if you win the Super Bowl, well, you gave up 500 yards to Brady in the Super Bowl, man. Like, that defense was horrendous in the Super Bowl. Like, it's insane how we view it. And I wonder, I always say this because I care about your own mental state of being. And I wonder, are you enjoying it? We look forward to football season every year. Right? Especially now, it comes out, oh man, can't wait for football. And just the whole, how we celebrate it, right? From parties and family and get together, and all your buddies, everybody watches the games together, and we talk about it. It's such a big deal here, and it's so fast, right? It's the shortest of any of the 4 seasons. It's so quick, and you blink, and it's like, wow, it's week 10. And you start to get, I know I always get like depressed, like, oh man, it's already week 10. And I wonder, are we cheating ourselves out of enjoying the moment, out of enjoying the now? Because right away it's like, oh, got to get to January, got to get to February, got to win the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a duh moment. Of course, that's always the goal every year. But the Eagles have been so good for a long time, relevant. And all I really want out of my franchises are to be relevant. Like, I think you can control relevancy. I don't think you can control whether or not you win a title. I think that comes down to breaks and hot teams and, what your opponents are doing. I think there's a lot of variables. I think you can control if you run a good front office, right? If you draft well and plan well, I think you can be relevant. And you can be consistently relevant. I think that's kind of what we're talking about. We look at the Phillies and we do celebrate. Like I love the way we absorb the Phillies. Like we take the Phillies and we have this, kind of fun kind of way. Trey Turner and the whole standing ovation. Like, could you imagine if Jalen Hurts is in a slump and he comes out one day and he misfires badly on his first 4 passes? Do you think that there would be a standing ovation for Jalen Hurts in that spot? Certainly, Skeeves isn't doing that. Like, we already know that. I kind of want to discuss this whole thing because I really want you, and I mean you, to enjoy it, to savor every moment because it goes by quick. And yeah, I want to win the Super Bowl in due time. That's Popping Off, brought to you by Olipop. It's your soda that's good for you. You can get it at Wawa. I highly suggest it because it's tasty and it's really good. Promotes gut health, as VG will tell you. Good morning, VG. Violence is Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning, JP.
Buenos
John
dias, guys.
Zapata. So let's get down to it. You were all in the meeting. You heard Skeeves. So right off the bat, it would be a colossal blunder. I swear to God, Skis reminds me of like a dude from 1978, right? Like,
You're definitely in the wrong.
The only thing that he would say is they're bums.
He's been in an old school Port Richmond too long.
Yeah, man, right, bums. And it was funny, but like it was funny. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine who works in sports, and we were talking about how we really kind of absorb the Eagles, and do we get enough joy? I'll start with you, JP.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think so. I mean, like the thing is that we talked. It's good. VJ brought up a good point yesterday. Like, yeah, we're not the richest city in the world. We're all a little bit stressed. But every Sunday, come fall and winter, we all look forward to that day, that moment, watching the Eagles, whether it be sitting around the TV or whether it being down at South Philly in the complex. But we revolve our whole world around this team. And so because we put so much emphasis and so much stock into this one team on this one day, it becomes everything. So when something small happens, when Jalen throws an interception, everything gets highlighted even more. And so I think we have a tough time enjoying it. I'll be honest with you. Ever since we won the Super Bowl, I've tamed down a little bit because I used to be a lot like that.
Well, I thought it would. I did. I thought when they won the Super Bowl, because listen, I kind of understood that reaction because we hadn't won, and so the pressure just mounted every year. And when you look at the Andy Reid Eagles being so close every year, it was torture. It was literal torture, right? Like it was pain. And every game every playoff or every season that ended with an interception, disappointment, all that stuff. But then once they win, I thought it would kind of dissipate a little bit. That angst that you felt would dissipate, and you could focus a little bit more on the joy of it.
That's kind of where I was at.
I mean, I feel like they had a good, joyful ride in 2017. No, when they were winning, Malcolm, we had the song, Dreams and Nightmares.
But then think about when Carson went down. Everyone.
Yeah, we rallied around Big DN, like Nick Foles.
Not all of us.
It felt like, I don't know, I felt like there was a good, joyful positivity with that team.
And then where'd it go?
Well, I mean, then they crapped all over Dougie, our beloved Dougie. Yeah. They sent him our beloved Dougie packing.
So this is Doug fallout?
No, I'm just saying. Now
Come on, that's ridiculous.
I'm saying when things are rolling and they're good, yeah, I think this team, I think the fan base rallies and finds
last year
joy.
they were 10-1, and everybody was saying that they weren't. And listen, they were proven correct, basically.
Right.
Or was it a self-fulfilling prophecy? That's the other way to look at it. But they kept poking holes into every game. Wow.
Not here, though. I felt like the fan base was like, these people national are crazy.
I don't know, man. I thought that they were.
Yeah?
I thought here we were looking at it, with like a half glass empty.
I saw a lot of people defending the Eagles throughout Twitter last year when all the national pundits, even some of the local pundits, were saying that, we won, but, and so I did see a lot of people defending it, but it is an interesting dynamic, kind of post Super Bowl, how we kind of look at the Eagles. There's always going to be those guys.
It's undeniable that we look at it with the way Skis does. Like you look at it with a negative first.
You know what it is, cuz?
I mean, that's true.
It's because we trained our minds to think like that, and I think it has to do with all the sports, not just the Eagles, but just because we haven't had so much success in the city. We kind of like train ourselves. So what Andrew's doing is he's preparing himself for the worst. So the worst thing possible. This Eagles team
I've heard
should
that
win the
theory
division
many times in the past that you're not getting your hopes up, so you're protecting your feelings, so you're not dashed. I've heard that for 20 years.
He's stuck in Negadelphia. I thought we all moved past Negadelphia.
But I don't think we've come close to leaving Negadelphia.
Really?
Yeah, thanks to the Sixers, man.
I mean, well, look, right? Like the Phillies are completely different. For some reason, the ballpark has really positive energy. Yeah. The energy surrounding everyone else does not come close to the Phillies thing.
I think it's a reflection.
That's after, hold on real quick. The Phillies suffered one of the worst losses ever in the NLCS. That was historic. We talk about in 2011, losing at home the last 2 games was one of the colossal loss, like big time defeat, like gut wrenching. It was Tampa times 2, right? Like the way they lost that series.
Yeah.
But we rallied, right away. It's been like, a great, and I think it's good that you rally and you have a different outlook.
Don't you think it's a bit of a give and take? Like they exude a certain energy to the fan base.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that helps. They exude an energy definitely unlike, and it's difficult with football because they got the masks and the shields on, and you're not as personal.
I totally agree with that.
So you connect more with the Phillies players, and they just are really out there with the fan base. So
I
think that's a big
totally
part.
believe that. I think that's certainly a part of it. But you guys know where we hold the Eagles, right? Like we hold the Eagles
no
to
matter
this
what,
almost unattainable kind of standing.
they run the city. Cause
don't you feel like it's most NFL cities are like that?
no, not most.
No,
No,
I think New York's a baseball town.
not at all.
like Pats, Patriots.
Nah, they're not even. The Patriots are number 3 there.
Yeah.
Even when they're winning, I don't even think they're.
Really?
When they were winning, they were number 2.
Wow.
Even like other Brady and Belichick, they were still behind the Red
Is that
Sox.
a baseball town?
Yes.
Yeah, baseball
It's
town.
a monster baseball town.
Yeah,
I mean, the Inquirer's right with skis. I mean, they're giving skis all the ammunition. Marcus Hayes got a headline. Howie Roseman just finished his biggest and best Eagles offseason. Like, now skis is like, Howie just had the greatest offseason. The division stinks. It is a colossal blunder if they don't win the division.
Yeah, but that should not. It should be, hey, man, rest of the division sucks. Look at this roster. We're winning the division. It's clearly
you're
like
right.
how you're supposed to react to that is if you're an Eagles fan. Again, I'm just looking at it as this kind of like objective voice here, taking fandom, media, all of it out. I'm just kind of an onlooker. And if I go, and I know that Skeeves is a big Eagles fan, right? If I look at you, I go, Skeeves, like, you should be, like, thumping your chest, right? EAGLES and not, oh, God, if they don't win, they're going to be, it's a blunder. It's the worst thing in the world.
If he's thumping his chest and tiptoeing through the tool list with Tiny Tim after that end of that season, he's a lunatic. He sounds sane to me.
You get my point.
Well,
you read the headline.
Yeah, but
the best off season ever, right? So you at least it emboldens you. I'm not saying you're saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, but you should say we're going to win a division.
You would hope. After that end last year.
But I mean, like,
You do it too.
Because
you do it too.
bet.
You have the same. You with your Phillies hat. And you have the same kind of reaction to it.
We got Bryce. We know Bryce is coming back on a mission this year. We knew it. You don't have who's coming back on a mission this year?
This is not about Bryce.
Is Jalen coming back on a mission this year to instill confidence in us?
It's not about Bryce. It's about a team. But my whole thing to you guys is we always we love EAGLES. We're football.
Yeah,
Eagles,
it's
right?
fun.
Right, the whole thing. But yet we view it. And we almost hold them to unrealistic expectations every year. Like, well, did you win? Well, how much? Right? It's almost like, who'd you beat? Spider Rico? He's a bum.
Right.
Right? Like, that's how we view that. How is that joyful? How do you extract joy from that? And you ask about other NFL cities, it's not even close, dude. I've been to other NFL cities, multiple, like all of them, covering games. It's not. It's viewed different, and especially since we consume it almost in a collegiate manner, we just don't react in a fan way as collegiate. It's the opposite.
I guess after a couple of wild turkeys or Coors Lights and some wings on Sunday, everyone has the happy eyes on, guys.
I mean, it took a while to get over the Super Bowl hump. It's not like we have decades of fun and joy. It's
not about, anybody can enjoy, if I'm stacking bowls, right? Like, of course, I'm gonna feel a certain way. My point is, if we love it so much, we should enjoy the moment for our own.
I think everyone does in the moment of the game.
All right, like, that's a blunder. They're a bum. What a great time that
but
was.
come game time, he's going to be all fired up and ready to go.
Dude, you know what I'm talking about. Don't stop trying to play the other side when you understand exactly. You're too smart. You understand exactly what I'm talking about.
K-Red
There is a bad energy sometimes around that team.
K-Red does bring up a good point here in the comment section. Like, negativity does bring for more dialogue, more, entertainment. If the Eagles are rolling, like everything's going smooth, they're still going to find some wrinkle.
Listen, I'm in the minority, all right? I did sports talk for a long time. I hated going in when the Eagles lost. I hated Mondays when they lost. I did. I don't like negative energy.
I'm with you.
I don't like to live with negative energy.
I'm with that.
I don't like I don't like people who are overly negative. I don't enjoy it. It's not fun. It's bad. It's like just bad energy. I don't understand why. Yeah, is it more salacious? Can you listen? We had Mikey Miss in, right? Mikey was incredible in those moments when they lost, and he would come out and he would be in the back sharpening his knives, right? And each word was a blade that would come out of his mouth.
You're right.
But that's not fun.
You're right. Because it's interesting because Pat Bev said something really interesting last year during like the whole trade deadline stuff. There was a video out there of him donating like a bunch of money to a charity locally, and the Sixers made like social content out of it. It got like barely any likes, barely retweets. But then you start putting out some trade rumors. Tobias going here, Pat Bev's going there. Those get the engagement.
Yeah, but that's different though. Trade deadline is you're like, wow, it's more about, that's not negative or positive. That's just part of the whole thing.
But is it positive and negative?
Listen, there's always been, positive news never saw from the beginning of mankind. Like whatever you watched when we were growing up and watching the world news, when world news was a big deal on television, it was always about war and murder and mayhem and fires and death. You're right. There's always been about negativity sells. But does that make it fun? No. My point is not about what's popular. My point is, and again, you consume it the way you want to consume it. My only point is, how about have fun with it?
But when they're not, if the Phillies aren't good, it's not fun.
The Eagles are a good team. No?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
We were negative.
They're not even good. I'm not telling you. Listen, I said yesterday, I think they're behind the Lions, right? The Niners, we'll see with the whole Brandon Ayuk thing. But right now, the Lions are a really good team.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not ready to say anything after that collapse.
But they're a good team. They're a good team. Who wins the division?
And they were their own worst enemy last year.
I think the Eagles do.
Right. They're a good team. You look at the roster. It's a good team. Does
Jalen need an average team in a crappy division?
Does Jalen need to play better? Yes. There's certain defense. The defense needs to get fixed. There's reasons for optimism. I know they're a good team. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team. That we'll find out about that. My only point to you is going into a season, don't you want to look at it in a fun way? If they stink and they lose in Brazil, 31 to 10, all right, and the Packers are ridiculous. Oh my God, there's Jordan Love thrown all over them. You react accordingly.
But even if they stink, I have a fun season. I tailgate, I gather with friends, I party.
I'm talking about how you consume the team. That's not. You could go down there whatever you want. If they're 5-12, you're not having fun. I don't care how much beer you drink and how many brats or dogs you're going to eat, sausages. You're not fun. It's not fun.
Yeah,
the gummies make anything fun.
But you agree with me. You're giving me
I get you, but you're just under a microscope with the Phillies. With the Eagles. You got 16 games, so everything's so stressful.
That is another point.
You can't be joyful. It's so stressful.
You can't sit back and enjoy how the process unfolds.
Absolutely not. Not now. Not coming after that season ending. I can't. They got to prove
you
something
can't-
to me before I get all skipping and clicking my heels.
I'm not telling you that you got to be, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
And it's funny that you take that tone, because I'm just giving you, can you extract any joy? And you're all about, he's talking bums, you're talking, what do you want? The Phillies were coming off the biggest collapse in other than the Yankees blowing a 3-0 lead to the Red Sox.
Yep.
That was at home where they don't lose. Yet, including myself, I couldn't wait for this year.
But then the opposite happened last year. We came off the World Series. We had a slow start, and everyone was killing the Phils.
Not really. I mean, dude, killing, you have no idea about killing.
Well, people were,
Nah.
Topper, what
All
are you
right,
doing
we
with the
gotta-
lineup?
Hey, by the way, people
think
are
the
loving
bullpen-
your shirt today. They say
Yeah,
it's
it does.
popping in YouTube, and they said it almost looks like a
shirt,
soccer kit. They said with the lights. They said your tan's popping.
My baseball.
You're starting 10.
It's
from
my
Philadelphia
baseball
Union.
tan from my watching Massimo play ball every day. Got something out of it.
The ultimate scout. I love it.
I love this conversation.
It's a good one.
I love it. And again, let me just say one thing. I bring this up to you guys, not from an Eagles perspective, from a fan's perspective.
Yeah.
Because I want you to enjoy it. Listen, if they stink and again they get beat by the Packers and everything, then we react accordingly. But now's the time for excitement, looking forward to it, and I don't feel it.
Yeah. That's how we are right now.
I don't
mean,
feel
it's
it.
like me getting excited to go see a Motley Crue concert. I know he's going to stink at singing and they're going to sound terrible. I can't allow me. I'll go, but I'm not going to be like, yeah, this is going to be awesome.
God, you're just like him.
The late collapse also is the reason why people are thinking
Yeah,
like
we're
this.
Again,
traumatized.
the
That's the
Phillies
real
lost
reason why.
3-2.
Yeah, but we got Bryce, we got Trey. We know they're fine.
Yeah, people
I don't know who
connect
we
with
can
that
count
team.
on this team other
It's
than
fun
AJ.
down there. They're hitting. They're pitching. well.
Devontae.
All right, yeah.
I mean, listen, your
Goddard,
O-line's
someone's gotta
good.
get on the ball.
You got
The
Saquon Barkley.
O-line's in flux.
Like, you got not in flux. I mean, you lose Kelsey, I agree, losing a great player, but that's a good offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean,
You bring it back
I
like
don't
the
know how
best.
you could just say that.
One of the best tackles. What?
I don't know how
best
you can
tight
just say
ends.
that when they're losing the core of it.
Lane John, the core. You lost one guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm
the
sorry.
leader.
Lane Johnson and Mailata are incredible tackles.
Wait.
I love Kelsey, but you can't tell me that now all of a sudden the line's garbage
I didn't
because
say
he
that.
leaves.
See what you're saying? I didn't say it was
By the way, we
garbage.
do need to talk about Kelsey at some point today because of his Lane Johnson interview with Adams.
Yeah.
Bring that up.
Yeah. All right. Lots to get to. Let me tell you about Dr. Andy Cohen, Sleep Healthy PA. Dr. Andy has made it his mission to stop the snore. So Dr. Andy's a dentist, all right, by trade. And it was interesting. His best friend had cancer and he was helping him take care of him. But Dr. Andy was a snorer. And he was keeping his buddies up, and he felt bad because he kept keeping his friend up while his friend's going through treatments and everything. And so he devised a dental appliance for himself to open up his airways to stop the snore. And then he realized how incredible he felt, and it just made a difference. And he made that his mission in life, which is to stop the snore, man, to make sure that you get into that REM sleep, which is so important, where your body regenerates and replenishes. And it's such an important thing when it comes to health, blood flow, that oxygen level in your blood is bursting. That's what you need. And when you have sleep apnea and you're stuck with, CPAP machines or untreated, which is even more dangerous, you don't get into that restful sleep. Dr. Andy can help you. He can help save your relationship because I'm sure your partner is probably like, oh, man, guy going to go in the other room. I can't take that. So listen, for your health, for your, relationship, go see Dr. Andy Cohen, sleephealthypa.com, and stop the snore, JP.
I love it, Cuz. All right. Well, Cuz got you hooked up with the sleep health you need. Let's talk about your finance health that you're going to need with our friends over at TrueMark Financial, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, in today's day and age, with this inflation that we're going through, everything's going up in prices. We're all stressed about finances. So you want to make sure you're having a credit union team behind you to back you up. And right now, guys, budget for kids and sports activities with TrueMark Financial's money management tool in their online banking and mobile app. Managing family finances includes budgeting for kids' sports leagues. Create a separate budget for category for sports expenses, track costs effectively, even involve your kids in budget discussions and teach them financial responsibility. Never too young to start those conversations, ladies and gents. Going on a group trip for away games like myself, guys, it's still easy to keep track of spending with the mobile banking app. Mobile banking apps offer convenience for managing finances on the go, and even has the card locking feature that I always stress you guys always need. If you ever happen to go through that scare, if you happen to lose it in general, having the ability to just lock your card right with your handheld device is super convenient, guys. And get a home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit allows homeowners to borrow against home equity with a variable interest rate. Preserve your savings and get access to funds as needed for big renovations, educations, and emergencies as well. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCAA, is an equal opportunity lender. And guys, if you want some more information, one of two things you guys can do here today. You can either go on to truemark.com/PHLY, or they are located right here locally. Fort Washington is where they're headquartered. They have 24 branches in the area. You can walk in today and get some further information. But again, that website is truemark.com/PHLY. So get your credit union career started here today. And thank you to our friends over at TrueMark Financial, cuz.
All right, thanks, JP. This portion of the show brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. Let me ask you this, because this came out. ESPN, we're doing our own rank week, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. And tomorrow, we're going to dive full in, which is the 25 most memorable games in Philadelphia history. But I got to ask you this. ESPN did its top 10. They actually did their top 100 athletes of the century.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a problem with it.
I know we had this conversation.
I just hate it. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, and I'll accept. I won't agree, but I'll accept what you're talking about. So this has been a century where we have had LeBron James, Tom Brady, and Tiger Woods.
Best era of athletes.
All right? And none of those three are number one. In fact, none of those three are in the top three. And I just find it ludicrous. Now, VG will, because he'll argue the other side, I'm sure. But number one is Michael Phelps. Number two is Serena Williams. And I respect tennis. Number three is Lionel Messi. And I'm going, I got to wait till number four for LeBron James. LeBron James, who is, whether you like him or not, is considered the 1A in the history of basketball.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. In the history of the game. You got Jordan, LeBron. You want to put Wilt in there, top three in any kind of order type of thing. I would still go with MJ, but you get my point. LeBron James. Tom Brady, the ultimate winning quarterback in the history of America's biggest sport. America's biggest sport. Tom Brady. He's number 5. And then you got to go down to number 8.
Travesty at 8. For
Tiger Woods, the most dominant golfer since Nicklaus.
And the barriers he broke down.
And the sheer dominance that he showed until injuries, whatever kind of derails him. How the hell are those three guys not 1, 2, 3?
You know what the problem with this conversation is, cuz this is going to turn into which sport is harder than the other, which sport's more important than the other. Because we can all agree that these are some very well decorated athletes, but now you're getting to the conversations all right, well, are we going to put the swimmer over one of the best basketball players of all time? Are we going to put the women tennis player over one of the best soccer players or one of the best football players of all time? And so I think that's where that conversation is going to kind of lead to. I mean, honestly, these are all really good athletes. Would I put Michael Phelps and Serena Williams 1 and 2? Probably not. But that's where this conversation is going to
he'd leave Messi a 3, though.
He doesn't belong in the top 3.
He doesn't even play in a league.
I mean,
that's
stop.
got- The league he plays doesn't have the greatest
Stop with
athletes.
Messi.
Come on,
Listen,
cuz.
he don't belong over Brady, over Tiger Woods, over LeBron James. I don't want to hear. Listen, I respect the sport. I like the sport, but we're talking about the top 100 athletes. Tom Brady, LeBron James, Tiger Woods.
Okay, can I ask this?
Come on.
If you're going to do this list, you personally, if you, Anthony Gargano, are going to do this list.
I got to hear this soccer just shoved down my throat. And again, I'm not even in. I like the sport.
No. I know. But no, in all seriousness.
And then you're shoving me Michael Phelps. Ah, come on, man.
What is on your criteria for this
I
list?
don't want to. You know what's on my criteria. What matters here? What matters? You're going to tell me that you look at greatness, great athletes. It's the greatness of the athlete. LeBron James is at 1A, 1B. That's it. In the history of that entire sport. Is Messi the best ever in soccer?
Yes.
Ever. Unquestionable.
Yes.
I'll ask you that.
Yes.
Unquestionable.
Yes. And that's another debate, but I'm saying yes.
Here's my issue. How do you know? He doesn't play in a league with all the greatest players. He plays
he's
in
now
one league.
done.
No, but he played in what? La Liga? He played in the Premier
dominated
League?
La Liga.
He didn't
but
play
he's
in
won
Premier. He
multiple
didn't play in
Champions
Bundesliga.
League.
There's all these different leagues. You don't know. The best players are all spread out. LeBron James dominates the best players in the world every time he's on the court.
I don't know honestly, I don't know what my top 5 would be.
I mean, you're talking about the greatest in the world. Tom Brady, the most winningest decorated quarterback in America, where football is king.
Simone Biles over Tiger Woods.
I know. I mean, I get ESPN's doing
Like,
it for.
what are we doing?
It's like, well, we're gonna, show every sport is equal. I don't know. You know what they're doing. They're trying to create this whole conversation. My only point is, and I don't care what you do, 97 through 100. Although I think Patrick Mahomes at 18 is completely a travesty.
But this is what we do. We're hooked. The article, the headline, that last thing before they list it, let the arguments begin. They know what they're doing. They want people to talk about how crazy this list is.
I don't even know who number 15 is, guys. Katie Ledecky. She's a swimmer as well.
Yeah.
I never heard of her a day in my life.
First of all, listen, and if I get rid of, and Skeeves is right. There's an individual versus team sport. I'll always skew team sport over individual. I always do that. So I get Phelps swimming, Usain Bolt, the fastest man alive. I get what you're doing.
What about drivers? You putting drivers on this?
Fedorov was like ridiculous. Serena was ridiculous. No,
I don't put the race car drivers.
Number
I
19,
don't
you
either.
have Lewis
Yeah.
Hamilton.
I don't.
F1
on
guy.
the list.
Yeah, I don't do that either. But let's forget those guys. How's Patrick Mahomes behind Tim Duncan? Are you kidding me?
And
How's Patrick Mahomes behind Steph Curry?
He's behind that Ledecky girl.
Well, forget. I'm not going.
You're talking
about team.
Curry? No.
I go Mahomes all day long. Here's the other thing the ESPN will do. Always ups. I love basketball, right? But ESPN goes way above with basketball.
It's their sport.
Football is king in this country, right? Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
No,
And
you're right.
Patrick Mahomes is, I'll tell you, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. I think Dan Marino had the best arm. I loved, Elway and Brady was the winningest.
No, Mahomes
right?
changed
Like
the possession.
all that stuff. But Mahomes does everything. He has elements of, he's got a ridiculous arm. He can move. He's smart like Brady. He plays hurt. He's tough. I mean, I put him way above Steph Curry. I think, listen, and I'm a Kobe. I love Kobe. I put him above Kobe.
Mahomes?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
Blasphemy.
No, how's that blasphemy? Where's Mahomes at when it comes to the greatest quarterbacks?
Top 3? Top 4?
In the history of the NFL. NFL. And quarterback is quarterback.
Yeah, you got to put him 3.
Top 3 or
At least
5?
Oh, now he's fucking.
Well,
Give me 4 quarterbacks better
full
than
career.
I mean,
Joe Montana, Tom Brady.
First of all, Mahomes is better than
Peyton?
Montana.
Yes.
Who'd you say? Aikman?
Peyton.
Oh.
Peyton. I'm sorry. Peyton.
No, he's better than Peyton.
I'm saying I'm putting Peyton in the
listen,
top 5.
Nick Foles. How is Nick Foles not on this list? Seriously.
I just feel passionate about they just don't give football they don't give football play. Forget baseball because you got to go all the way down to that list.
Where is the baseball player?
Top
Pujols.
25 is Pujols.
That's why.
They won't even go near a baseball player. They won't think there's any. Go ahead, Michael Phelps. Go try to hit a 102-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, I mean,
I guess it's too early for
I'll break
Otani.
a
Pujols ain't doing a breaststroke, I'm sure.
I guess it's too early for Otani. He's only been here for what, 3-4 seasons?
Yeah, I would.
Is Kobe a top 5 player of all time?
He's probably 5.
Yeah. I mean, him and Mahomes are comparable, I think.
Yeah, my only point is Mahomes is so low. If you told me in the list that Kobe's 5 and Mahomes 6, all right, I get it. But I don't think it's blasphemy to say that Mahomes is 5 and Kobe's 6.
Well,
I mean, Mahomes, I think, is completely shortchanged. I mean, that kid, I watch him, they have a dynasty, all right? And they do it off his back. They took away his best receiver.
Yeah.
They took away a weapon. In fact, they win the Super Bowl, and the tight end is their best receiver.
It's the best tight end of all time, probably.
Okay, but even he's a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty
And
crazy.
they had what did we say about the receivers for the Chiefs? They drop every ball. And any interception he throws, it's usually because a guy goes out, it hits off their chest and bounces up in the air.
We have 3 tennis players before Steph Curry.
I know. It's before Mahomes.
Before Shaquille.
I mean, come on.
Where's our boy Bryce?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen,
he's
I
scrolling
love
this
good
far
luck
down
with
on this
that.
list.
I can't get out of everywhere I look is tennis, swimming, gymnastics, soccer. I mean,
There is a lot of soccer
there's
players.
a ton of soccer.
Marta, the women's soccer player,
I mean,
32.
come on. Listen, I know you're Mr. Soccer. I get it. And
I mean,
again,
honestly-
you ever hear me? I respect. I give you nothing but respect for that sport. Nothing but respect. I think this Kevin Sullivan story is an amazing story. But come on, man.
I mean,
you're talking about basketball, football. I can't get any love. Forget about hockey.
Bonds is 38th.
You got to go. I think you got to go to 30-something to get Sidney Crosby.
I mean, putting Iniesta and Xavi over Bryce Harper, I'm calling a violation.
I
I
mean,
got some skiers on the list.
I know. That's why it's so for bogus. It's the whole thing.
This list is
Sometimes that
insane.
ESPN grates on my nerves, like you name it. Listen, the biggest, at least pay homage. And again, I like tennis. I love sports, right? So I love all of them. But at
hard
least
sport.
pay homage to the most popular team sports.
Is Vince in the chat complaining WNBA's not represented?
Oh, they're well
represented high
represented
enough?
in here.
Are they?
I saw players I don't even know all the time.
I never even heard of half of
Well,
these
we got
people.
Doc Holliday in there. Number 88.
Yeah, this is dead
My
time
buddy
of
Boo
year.
goes, "You're way overreacting to Mahomes." Come on, Boo. That's my boy.
No, I mean,
You got an
he should-
MMA fighter.
I know.
Number 18 is too low.
Mahomes is great. He's great. And Boo is a football player at Lycoming. Should know that the level of greatness.
At the minimum. At the minimum.
That's a
he should be
powerhouse
top
like
15.
Coming.
What's that?
Coming's a powerhouse on the gridiron.
He was a big guard.
Yeah?
Yeah. Rotted. All right. Time now for the brain.
Brain. Red, the brain finder.
Where is he? I don't see him.
The Skeeves.
I just saw Skeeves.
He was just here.
He was just there?
He was just here.
All right.
Irish goodbye.
No matter. All my screaming and yelling probably chased him away.
Probably wearing a Serena shirt. He's like, I better get out of here, change his shirt.
I'm curious to hear what he has to say about this list.
Well, he's a sportsman.
Yeah.
So we'll get
He
get
watches
into
it all.
Yeah, he does. He
watches it
and
all.
again, I like to pride myself on that stuff. Like I love tennis and I'll talk soccer with you. I'll talk. I like I love the Open. Like we have the Open going on.
I'm watching that this morning. So
yeah, and it's nasty.
DeChambeau
Struggling 7 over.
He was hitting in things that are like 4 feet high. It looked like
Right, and you see that brush.
Yeah.
Like it's daunting, man.
Yeah.
When you have that wind, and then like it's one of those crazy. That links golf is
it's
nasty.
fun to watch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
When the conditions are bad.
Yes, it's great when the
when
conditions,
the conditions
are
are
bad.
good, it's not that fun.
Yes.
Drinking
But when
your
they're
tea?
bad, what is he doing? Have you texted him?
I
You got
did.
him?
Yeah, he was here and then he disappeared again.
And he disappeared again.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe some bad.
All right.
serves.
So, but while we're waiting for Brad, the other thing, last night, Joel fouls out 2 for 8 in the tune-up game. There's another tune-up coming up.
Yeah.
Speaking of Negadelphia,
A lot of distractions in where are they? Abu Dhabi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beach, sun.
you see, cuz he can't even play well with
You
Team
know what was
USA.
so good?
Beach in the
I
desert.
watched some of it yesterday.
Yeah.
It was great. Raftery's calling the games.
Yeah.
As soon as I turned it on, I heard his voice. I was like, oh my God, the raft.
Yeah. We got him. What? No.
Where's he at? On a yacht somewhere?
Keeps disconnecting.
Man. All right. He's got to get used to the way the game's called.
Yeah, it's a big one, cuz. Big adjustment he's going to have to do there.
Yeah.
Like,
Not getting those calls,
it's
man.
a spread out quicker game.
yes.
So he's a little not in game shape yet. So he's reaching.
Yes. Grabbing.
Yeah.
We got the brain.
And he'll do it.
6 times a charm.
Easy. Wasn't that? It's not that exciting. Brain.
Good morning to you.
You all right, buddy? You in a bad spot?
I think I'm all right. How are you?
Good. You're real good. Good. We were just talking about this.
You talking about the ESPN list?
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
Honestly, again, I'm just telling you, like, listen, ESPN is like, to me, has kind of become, I don't know. Like, I think they were. I'll leave it like this. I think they were trying to be politically correct, and I'll just that's just my own take. I don't know if that was really their real list or not, because some of the orders they had of the
My only
things,
point is- I mean, Brady,
couldn't get there.
LeBron, Tiger, and Brady. Like, you could make the argument the greatest
1,
of
2,
their
3. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think they were trying to listen. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it at all, but they're trying to treat every sport, whatever the sport was, like it was equal with the NFL.
Yeah.
Which to me, I can't get there when they're putting like an Olympic sport that people don't. There's not as much competition. There's not as much people who do it versus a sport like like the NFL, where there's a lot more competition. At least in that's my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. Let me make that clear.
No,
but I feel they were just
it's
trying
all
to.
an opinion-based thing. I mean, listen, that's what
It's all an
what it's all
opinion-based
about.
thing.
But
Yeah, I mean, when I saw some of the stuff they had, I look, they had their own talent criticizing their list.
I know.
I mean, think about that. I mean, like they were ripping what they were doing. So again, I think part of it, though, I don't even know how much of it what they put up there they actually believe is the truth. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because like to me, like where they were putting some of these guys, you're right. Like Brady, Tiger, and LeBron.
I mean,
again,
Tiger
it's
Woods.
like okay. It's again, that's what I'm trying to say. Do they even believe what they're putting out? Like because when I'm looking at that, I'm like, come on. I mean, Tiger Woods was at his peak, which was in that era. Okay, that was his era. He won, I think, 14 of his 18 majors. I think that was Tiger Woods at his best, and he was the best golfer we've seen, which is the hardest sport. Let's be honest, Anthony, been the hardest sport in the world to dominate. Right?
Yeah.
That is the hardest sport. No one can argue that. That is the hardest sport, and he actually was the one guy who did dominate. So again, I felt I had a problem with too many of these names to even talk about. But again, I think I don't know. I don't know if they really were trying to get it right versus just trying to appease every sport and saying, okay, we took care of this sport, we took care of that sport.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Hey, let me ask you, because we're going to talk a lot of Penn State coming up. Adam Taliaferro is going to join us.
Yeah.
Give me your outlook. And
that's great.
You do your power rankings. And for those people watching, Brad has his own system to do the power rankings. First, let's talk Penn State. Second, how do you come up with your power rankings?
What I do is, Anthony, I look at, again, it's very, not simple, but what I do is I look at, okay, what the roster was last year, okay, and where most of the production was coming from last year. Okay, theoretically, I mostly focus on the 22 starters, okay, that's what you at least do it. Then I look at, okay, what's coming in via the transfer portal, which has now become, again, that's why I told you I had Ole Miss ranked maybe higher than others, because Ole Miss and the transfer portal got much more than a lot of other teams. Then I look at, and this is not as big for me, but I look to see, again, recruiting. What did they get? Could they get any guys as impact freshmen who are going to come back? I look at returning production. Listen, how many of the 22 starters are back? Out of the ones that are back, how many are key starters as opposed to maybe you're losing a starter, but it wasn't a quote-unquote key starter. And then, listen, in terms of, now that's how I'm talking about the power rating. But then power rating, Anthony, is very different, extremely different from a season wins point of view, or from a future, like if you think a team is going to make the playoffs, win the national championship. Why? Well, because obviously if you have an easier schedule, you're not looking for a hard schedule. You're not, if you're betting for a team to win the national championship, you want that schedule to be as soft as theoretically possible. Maybe give us one hard game so they get publicity for that one big win. And then hopefully the other 10, 11 games are not as bad. But from a power rating perspective, schedule's 100% irrelevant. You're just saying ceteris paribus, my old economics term. How does each team do on a neutral field against each other? And again, it's a lot of things factored in, as I said. How many guys returning? Is the quarterback back? And then one thing I like to do is I like to look at, the backup quarterback too.
Do you have a point system?
What were you saying, Anthony?
Do you have a point system?
Yeah, I have a system. Yes. Yeah. I usually go between, I usually get to usually my highest team is in the high 90s, and then it goes down from there. Like, for example, this year, Georgia and Ohio State are going to be, my top two ranked teams. Now, listen, Penn State, it's interesting. Penn State, Anthony, you look at what Penn State has done. They've been a very interesting team under James Franklin. And I'm sure all the critics can talk about it, and all the people who love James Franklin can talk about it. They've been that team that it's almost, we talk about how sports is so, unpredictable, right? Sports is hard to guess who's going to win. One day you can look bad, next day you can look good. Penn State, Anthony, has been the team, whenever they're supposed to beat someone, they club you over the head and just destroy you, and they cover games, and they've been, again, Franklin's been the better. Again, I'm not saying he cares 2 cents why it happens, but whenever Penn State plays a team, they seem to cover, even if it doesn't look like they're going to cover. There have been plenty of games. I remember the West Virginia game I was on the opposite side on. They're like trying to score at the end with 10 seconds to go when I'm getting like 17, 18 points, and they're up 14 and they win by 21. They're covering. They're always trying to put metal to the pedal, so to speak, regardless of the situation. On the flip side, when they're playing, let's say, in Michigan or in Ohio State, usually teams where they're underdogs, this team has failed comically so, in terms of they never seem to be able to win a game where they're actually supposed to lose. And listen, you have to break through in those games. Now, again, Franklin's done an overall very good job there. But again, Penn State has been that team where they win the games they're supposed to lose, and they lose the game they're supposed to lose. Never seem to break through. Will that change this year? Will the quarterback, Drew Allar, will he step up? Will they take the training wheels also? Last year when I watched him, Anthony, you saw some talent, but man,
I think he's got a great arm, man.
Well, he does have a good arm, but last year, and again, I don't know if it was youth. I don't know if it was the fact that they were, I don't want to say scared, but they didn't give him
No.
in my opinion. Look, Penn State has a good team. I mean, Penn State has good players. Penn State is a team that should be, in my opinion, Anthony, competing for national championships. That's my 2 cents. But I think that then again, let's be fair about it. Michigan and Penn State probably for about the last, let's call it 12 years before last year, or at least before Harbaugh really made his impression the last 3 years when he lost to TCU and Georgia in the playoffs, and then they won the national championship last year. But they've been pretty close for many years, and Michigan broke through. Again, I think Penn State needs to do what Michigan did and just break through from that consistent 9-3 every single year where you have a good year, you go to
I think he needs to trust.
Alumni says,
I don't think he trusted Aller enough.
Mean it.
Yeah. I don't think he trusted Aller enough.
Again, well, yeah, he didn't.
That Michigan game, he didn't. But now you got to be more aggressive.
Well, that was again. That was. Listen, the Michigan. What's that?
We're talking about your dog barking.
What were you saying about the Michigan game, Anthony?
That I thought.
I'm sorry about that, Bianca. No. Sorry about that. She's barking. Look, she knows James Franklin has been too conservative. That's her way of saying it. Yes. She communicates with me. She thinks Drew Aller deserves a bigger leash, so to speak. It needs to be opening up the offense, and that's what needs to be done. So that's why she's barking. But again, I do think Penn State is a team that there has to be that year. How many years has he been there, Anthony?
Oh, I couldn't tell you right now.
How many years has James Franklin been there now?
I can't tell you
right off the top of my head. I don't know. I'm saying, but he's been there a long time. Yeah. But he's been there a long time, just haven't broke through. I think that's something they need to do, just because they've been too every year. Is just they should have had one breakthrough year. Maybe this is the year. And he's I think the top ranked quarterback, Anthony, they've had since he's been there.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to embrace that. And look, we're now in a world where you win with the quarterback.
Yeah.
Football has changed. It's not Bo Schembechler or Woody Hayes 3 yards in the cloud of dust. Those days are done. And even last year, when Michigan won the national championship, J.J. McCarthy was the 10th pick in the draft or whatever it was. I mean, they were freaking good. Even though they relied obviously on Corum and Edwards to run the ball a lot, they had an elite quarterback.
Hey, let's get to it real quick. Because what are you looking at today? It's a dead time, right? Games start tomorrow. So what's your life? Is it just downtime for you? Are you studying? Like I saw the Sixers win total is 51.5, which I like the over. Yeah, well, it's funny. I've already bet, like, I can tell you things I've already bet on that if you want to hear, Anthony. I bet Rockets for 41.5. I bet Portland over 21.5. I bet Golden State under 44.5 on this. I bet the Clippers under 44.5. Those were four. I bet Toronto under 32.5. Those were 5 things that I bet. But yeah, I looked very carefully at that. But you know what's great though, Anthony? That now these things, you could bet these things not only before the year, but after 4 games, after 7 games, after 3 games. Parks will post these after every single game. So there's not as much pressure to be first to the ball because they're going to post them after every game and you can see how things go. But those stood out to me. Sixers, I agree, Anthony, should be a behemoth in the regular season. They really should. You would think that they would win their 52 games. I would definitely be on that over for sure. Yeah. But I'm doing right now, Anthony, look, I'm trying to study my college football, get my power ratings more like tuned up finally. And because this is a perfect day for me to do college football because I don't have to worry about baseball. Now, like tonight, come around midnight, I'll start handicapping all of tomorrow's baseball, and I'll be up at like 5 a.m. finishing that. I love it. I love it. All right, at Brad'sBestBets.com, at Brad's Best Bets on X. You got to check him out. He's the best. My brother, good stuff, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, we'll have some bets tomorrow. We'll have some good baseball bets tomorrow. I promise you that. Sounds good, buddy. We had bad connection with the brain, not good with the brain's connection. No, we got to because he couldn't. It was definitely the delay was there. All right, go ahead. Tell us about Game Time.
All right, guys. Well, listen, they're back. They're back tomorrow after the All-Star break. The Fight-Ins are back, but they'll be in Pittsburgh. But, guys, it's not that far of a drive. So, guys, recommendation, it's going to be a great weekend. Head on down to Pittsburgh. You check out the great ballpark that they have there. And right before you head onto the game, you get your tickets. And you're going to use the Game Time app. Download it here today. It's free. It's super easy. We always talk about the convenience of Game Time app. You can see your seats right before buying. You can see all those fees before buying as well. And once you hit the checkout page, you will enjoy stress-free event buying. But guys, we got the U coming back at home on Saturday night as well. There's a lot of stuff going on in the city with events, so you guys need to make sure you're taking advantage of the Game Time app. And of course, as always, guys, we have you hooked up with that promo code right now, guys. If you create that first, like I mentioned, download the app, create the account. Your first purchase with the Game Time app here today, use the promo code PHLY. It'll get you $20 off. Guys, that's a meal down at the ballpark these days. $20 off. You get off your first tickets there. So guys, head on over to the Game Time app, get your events on, and enjoy it with us here today. And thank you to our friends over at the Game Time app.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Let's talk about the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. Of course, the Bet Parks and Parks Casino. Street Road Ben Sells brings us the great brain. Here's the deal. How about this? Bet Parks has your seat at the table with a live dealer for all your favorite classic casino games right on your phone right now. Play live Baccarat, live roulette, live blackjack with a live dealer. Play hundreds of exciting online slots. All right. It's the best. You got to know the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. Summer's here. You're at the beach, on the boat, the boardwalk, the Poconos, the campground, the lake, your backyard pool. Make your downtime fun time. The Bet Parks Sportsbook app, proud official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Of course, the big tournament's going on. You can bet top finishers, live bet while you watch games. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. Download the Bet Parks app. Enjoy all the action excitement right from the casino at your fingertips. Odds, bets, slots, games right in your pocket. And a great offer for new users. New users, download the Bet Parks online casino sportsbook app right now. Get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Casino bonus got to be wagered. BetParks.com for details. Got to be 21 PA, New Jersey, Maryland, Ohio, Michigan. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. Bet Parks. All right. So we've reached the 10 o'clock hour right here on the show. It's presented by Rite Aid. Get all of your favorite goods, all your scripts, anything you need for health at Rite Aid. Go to riteaid.com. Now, joining us, a dear friend, love him. He has always been Mr. Penn State. In fact, years and years ago, we used to do the show, and he would do the Penn State edition. Well, he's going to be joining us throughout the season and have some fun. And he's here with me in studio. He's my neighbor, my friend. He is the great attorney now, the great Adam Taliaferro, Mr. Penn State. What's up, baby?
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Oh, my God.
It's been too long.
How about it? Do you remember when we did this show? We used to you would call every Friday.
Every Friday, Penn State Report.
Yeah.
I was texting you. I said, I remember I would look forward to Friday because like when I was in law school, it was like a miserable time. You know, you're dealing with all that crap. But every Friday, I knew I had my time with Ant to do the Penn State Report, man. It was such good memories, man.
It was the best, man. It was so much fun. And I'm so proud of you. Your career is amazing as an attorney, politician. I mean, you've done, you do everything.
Now, you know, I tell people all the time, you're only as good as the people around you. And I've just been so blessed to be surrounded by so many people that have just helped me to get through life and, you know, going to law school and then practicing law. And, you know, now I'm at Johnson & Johnson working for them. So it's just been a blessing, man. As you know, you can't do any of this stuff on your own. And I've just been so lucky to be just surrounded by awesome people throughout my life.
And by the way, the best job.
Look at that.
the best job is you're a great dad.
I'm so blessed, and I got 2 little ones, like a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter, and as you said, we're neighbors. And it's so funny because my wife's not a big sports person, but we see you in the store and she hears the voice. She's like, I've heard that voice before. So
just echoing through the whole store.
Yeah, and she's like, he's such a nice guy. My kids, give my daughter, my son a big hug. So it's just such a good time, man, and just you feel blessed.
Totally.
I got no complaints.
Totally, brother. Totally. So before we get into, I'm in love with your story. I just, your courage is something that I admire deeply, deeply. Before we do that, let's go into a little. I'm excited for, and this is a Temple man, and knowing that Temple right now, Temple football is kind of teetering on the brink. I really love this team. I love the quarterback. I think Aller is just a tremendous talent. I'm excited for this season. I think you guys are going to be strong.
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased. Every year I'm excited a little bit, but I think this year is going to be a big year, as you said, with Drew coming into his own. I think last year he was playing. He played great, but he didn't want to make a mistake.
Yes,
and I think now he's more comfortable in the offense. We got 2 new coordinators coming in. You got Andy Kay, came over from Kansas running the offense. You got Tom Allen coming over from Indiana.
And that Kansas offense was good. Like for what they were working with, and I liked his mindset.
That's what everyone says. He got the most out of his talent at Kansas. And there's a stat that I was looking at. The last time that Penn State changed both coordinators before a season was 2016 when we won the Big Ten.
Really?
I mean, we did have Saquon and Trace, those guys back then. But
it could be a year at Penn State. I mean, Saquon coming down to Philadelphia. I know that excites you.
Saquon, man, we had an event last month. We had a Penn State event, and Saquon hosted it, and it's just so good to see him back in the city, man. I first met Saquon when he was in high school.
Wow.
I do some motivational speaking, and they had me come out to his high school, and his principal was a Penn State person, so they had me come to his high school like 3 times. And got to meet Saquon when he was a sophomore in high school. He's like this little skinny kid, and he's talking about he was committed to Rutgers at the time. And I remember him just picking my brain about Penn State, and lo and behold, he ends up switching his commitment, coming to Penn State, and the rest is history. But I tell people all the time, he's a kid that worked for everything that he's got. He wasn't Saquon in high school. He was a 140-pound running back trying to play varsity, and to see everything that he's accomplished to this day, and to see him back here now, he's the same guy. He hasn't changed. I don't know if you got to interact with him.
Yeah.
Same kid from high school till today. Just a humble, good kid, and I think he's going to do great this year.
Yeah, it's funny because they were killing him in New York, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like and I was so happy because VG and I were talking about this during the Hard Knocks. It came out, right? Like they didn't offer him a contract. Like what? And he kept saying, "What are you mad at me for? Yeah, you didn't offer me a contract."
Total disrespect.
Yes.
I'm so thankful that Hard Knocks came out because we all saw. He said, you know where I want to be.
Yeah.
And you see these guys going back and forth, and I love the fact that they were worried about him going to the Eagles.
I thought it was so stupid. I know. Oh my God, it was crazy. But back to this team.
Yeah.
Singleton, you got a terrific back in Singleton. I'm curious because I agree with you. I think Aller was a little tentative last year.
Yeah.
But I also think they were a little afraid to open things up with him too.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of works hand in hand.
You're so right. And if you talked to a lot of PennStaters, the beef was, throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And if you watched a lot of our games, there wasn't a lot of passes beyond 10, 15 yards. And I think this year, and also the wide receivers, we struggled.
Yeah. Well, you lost a couple great ones, so.
Yeah. And this year we got Julian Fleming coming over from Ohio State. He's a consensus, top recruit. A few years ago he's come over, and you got the big thing for us is our offensive line. We lost Olu, who was the first round pick. We lost Caden Wallace. So we got one starter coming back on the offensive line. So that's going to be a big thing. But our defense, they were the number 2 defense in college football last year. And if our defense can, keep that going, and you got Nick Singleton, you got Katron, I'm excited, man. I think there's some positive things. And as you said, with what Andy did at Kansas, from what I'm hearing, spring went great. And the boys will be starting up camp in 2 weeks. So we'll be ready to go.
We were freaking out here because we had the college football 25 came out.
I saw you play with Penn State. I saw that. You played with the Nittany Lions. I saw that.
actually.
Don't get it twisted. He played with Nebraska.
I saw him in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh, see, man,
I was about
thought
to
that was
say,
coming.
Andrew, we were playing. Andrew was Penn State,
I saw
and he
that.
took Singleton to the house
saw
on the first play on the
saw
Matty Rule defense.
Man, I got, I still got beef with EA Sports from 2001. So 2000, I was my freshman year at Penn State, and they don't put true freshmen in the game back then. So I was like, oh man, 01, I'll be in the game. I play 5 games, I get injured, but I was still on the roster in 01. And they put me in the game.
You weren't in the game?
Oh, that's a violation.
So EA, they owe me one, man.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. What's when you look at the landscape of college football?
Yeah.
It's insane. Like what's going on with NIL, with the portal?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's been the talk of really this summer.
Yep.
Talked to a lot of guys, in college football, kind of adapting to the new rules, to the new landscape.
Yep.
Jake Rosenberg, who was Howie's number 2 for the longest, right?
Yep.
And with the Eagles,
Yep.
left to do his own consulting. In fact, he just signed up Oklahoma. So kind of teaching colleges how to create a front office and navigate this new world.
Yeah, it's so interesting, especially at a school like Penn State where, there are a lot of older alumni and they want to go back to how things were in the 80s. And Coach Franklin, Coach Franklin's a great dude, man. We talk about it all the time. He's like, we got to adapt. You're going to get left behind if you want to keep this old school mentality where kids should just be thankful for their scholarships. And we joke, a lot of those SEC schools, this is nothing new for them. They've been doing this for years.
Yes.
So schools that, played by the rules is we try to tell our fan base now, it's like you truly have an opportunity to impact the product that's on the field. We need you all to step up. We essentially need a salary cap. You look at schools like Ohio State, they essentially have like a $16 million fund to maintain a roster from the year to year. And Coach Franklin says, why should ours be any different? If you expect us to compete with the Ohio States, with the Michigans, if they have 16, we need 16, we need 17, we need 18 to keep our players. Our top line, Abdul Carter, who's our top defensive player, Alabama offered him X amount of dollars to leave Penn State and go to Alabama. Thankfully, he didn't take the money. But that's the world that we're in now, where guys can just up and leave, and what are you going to do? Are you going to match it, or are you just going to let them walk? And it's a different ball game, man. But I think the tough part has been getting the alumni to truly understand.
They need to. And look, we're talking about Penn State, right? Like this is the state university of Pennsylvania. Like it should have great resources.
That's what we have, the largest living alumni base in the world. And Coach Frank's like, if everyone just gave $1, or if you think about, we have 108,000 people in our stadium. People gave 50 cents. We would be able to fund this team. And we, speaking of that, we're having our big fundraiser down in Avalon next 2 weeks, and our biggest fundraiser. And all the guys, Coach Franklin, Drew, all the guys will come down. And they, LeVar Arrington, Brandon Shaw, all the legends will come to raise money to make sure that we're able to compete off the field, which again bleeds into the competitive on the field.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like there has to be a system. Right now, it's the Wild West, right? Like so, it's insane how that whole thing will work, right? So there needs to be some sort of plan. Like right now, it's kind of chaos.
And that's the thing that concerns me is I think like all of us, when I was in college, you're giving me even $50,000.
Could you imagine
I'm going downtown and I'm just going crazy. And I would love to put it, even if, I totally agree, guys get some type of compensation, but even just put it in a fund till when they graduate, they have this money. Because these, I hope, and I know Penn State's doing a great job of educating these guys on how to maintain these finances, but I know when I was 18, 19, 20, I'm buying jewelry, I'm buying watches, I'm buying cars, all that crazy stuff. So it's definitely just craziness. And I think at some point they're going to put some guardrails around it. And even, you talk to Coach Frank, you talk to all the coaches. My college roommate is on the staff at Ohio State now. And he's just hearing the stories from him. It's just like, it's crazy.
Well, and it's wild too. Like some of the stories of the players, like I talked to some players' families and what they go through from, like you might be a starting quarterback, but all of a sudden, like they go, well, wait a second, we like this kid better coming in. Now you're out of a job.
It's
which is why they kind of, I can't balk at, like if you're some great kid coming out, right? And you go, all right, I want, $5 million guaranteed. Now you're not going to get that, but you're going to get $3 guaranteed over 5 years. And that's guaranteed money. That's real money. So if the kid, and it puts a lot of onus on your coaching staff and really how you're going to build your team, because if you now all of a sudden like another kid better, you're paying this other kid $3 million a year.
It's like, as you said, I look back when I was being recruited. I remember my first scholarship offer was Nebraska, and then Rutgers, because I went to camp there in full contact. They don't do this anymore, but it's full contact summer camp my sophomore year, and they offered me a scholarship. And then Rutgers.
So your sophomore year of high school, you go to this camp.
My sophomore going into junior year. They have full contact camps, so you bring your pads and everything. You go out to cornfields in Nebraska. I remember flying to Nebraska. Where the hell am I at? You get off. It was me and 3 of my high school teammates, and we're suited up. And it's 100 degrees out there. And you just for a whole week just getting after it.
Wow.
Running scrimmages, and after the camp, they offered me a scholarship. But I tell you that because then I got all these other offers, and Penn State came in kind of late my junior year. But Rutgers came in really hard, and if Rutgers came to me and was like, "Hey, we'll give you $3 million or whatever." It's an hour from home. It may not be the best football, but you're taking care of your family. And I probably would have ended up at Rutgers, So it's just such a crazy game now. When I was being 25 years ago, it was just, hey, I want to get a good education and play good football. And Penn State fit that bill with, Coach Paterno back then.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's so insane. So here's the thing. So what's successful to you when you're looking at Penn State? Because people think about it all the time and go, all right, this has to be the breakthrough time. Michigan broke through, right? Yep. Michigan and Penn State, we were just talking about this with Brad. They were like this, right? And Michigan, obviously with Harbaugh, breaks through. Well, with Franklin, you got a good coach, right? You got an amazing recruiter. You got a guy that knows talent, right? So is this the year where the breakthrough can happen, and now you're in the elite of the Big Ten?
I think the goal this year is to make the playoffs. With the newly expanded 12-team playoff, that should be the, hey, let's get there first. And it's interesting, if you look at the last 8 seasons, if they would have had the expanded playoff to 12 teams, Penn State would have made it 6 out of the last 8 seasons.
Oh, wow.
We were always like the Cinderella,
Well, you're right. I mean, 10-3, and you're close. You're right there.
2016 is the year that still burns me up because that's the year we won the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Saquon, Trace, the whole crew beat Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Won the Big Ten championship. It still didn't get in.
Yeah.
They took a Ohio State team.
That was tough.
So, but I think that's the benchmark this season. Get into the playoffs, and then you see what happens.
I love the playoff system.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
I mean, it's going to be
to
incredible.
be able to Penn State could potentially host.
I know. It'd be amazing.
I would love to see Penn, like one of those teams from the South have to come up to Penn State in December, January.
Would be awesome. 110,000 strong, like a whiteout.
10 degrees outside.
Yeah,
some snow falling.
Yeah, someone from the West Coast.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. That would be incredible.
Yeah,
hey, do me a favor. Sit tight 1 second. I want to tell everybody about FOCO, a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. Product lines that include apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty item, you name it, all right? The best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. You're going to basketball, hockey game, show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets, whether it's hoodies, jackets, beachwear, even overalls. There's something for fans for every occasion. FOCO, F-O-C-O, has hooked PHLY up, provided incredible pieces for all of our sets. Like you'll see it. We love, kind of wearing our stuff, wearing our colors, wearing our fandom and throughout all the studios and everything. Well, FOCO has always had our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHLY10, and you get 10% off. That's FOCO. You got to check it out. It's awesome. All right, I want to do this with you. I love your bravery. I love your courage.
Thank you.
And I want you to tell the story. I
Yeah.
want to go back because I love your career. People don't know what an incredible player you were. You just got mentioned how you're in Nebraska, sophomore to junior year.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted you. And tell us the story leading up to the injury.
Yeah, I grew up in Voorhees, went to Eastern High School, and my goal, I wanted to play professional football. Now, everyone said, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a professional football player. Was fortunate enough to, my high school team was great. We had 5 guys that got Division I scholarships my senior year. Our quarterback, our wide receiver went to Duke. We had a lineman with North Carolina, went to Penn State, and we had another guy went to Rutgers. But got the scholarship, went off to Penn State, and I was fortunate. Coach Paterno played me as a freshman. We played USC the first game, got our butts kicked by Carson Palmer. And
Yes,
but for me,
right.
it was just awesome being out there as a freshman. I played corner. And then came the 5th game of my freshman year, playing against Ohio State out there in the horseshoe, went in to make a tackle, and unfortunately broke my neck and was paralyzed from the neck down. And, the thought of being paralyzed when you play football, that never goes through your mind. But unfortunately, it happened, and the doctors, when they got me, they said I'd never walk again.
Go back to the moment. I remember you telling me, and when it happens, and you don't realize it at first.
Yeah, people ask me, look, were you in pain? I went in to make the tackle, and I just remember waking up on the ground, and I tried to move my arm to kind of gather my arms to get up off the ground. And when I couldn't move my arm, I said, oh, man, I broke my arm. And then I tried to gather my legs, and it felt like nothing was there. So I thought, oh, man, this is what a stinger feels like. I just thought I had a stinger because I heard so many times about guys losing sensation, and within 10 minutes, you're back up walking. So I wasn't, again, although I couldn't move anything, I just thought, man, I got this stinger. This sucks. I'll be back up in about 10 minutes. Time goes by, and I'm still laying there, and that's when I started to panic. And the thing that really got me is when Coach Paterno came out, and I saw him look down, and I just looked in his eyes, and I saw that he was scared. And this is a guy that's been coaching 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to panic. And ironically, I started playing football when I was 7, and my parents have been at every one of my games and never missed a game. And this game was on national TV, so I said, we're going to watch it at home. And my mom she hated football from day one, from when I started playing when I was 7. So I said, when they wheel me off the field, I'm just going to give a thumbs up to let my mom know that I'm okay. And I couldn't when I couldn't give a thumbs up, I was like, oh man, this is bad. So they called, my dad flew out that evening, and when he got to the hospital, they told him that I would never walk again because I, severely bruised my spinal cord. My parents never told me that. They said, if he's not going to walk in, he'll figure that out when in due time. We're not going to tell him. We're going to keep his hope. And I had my surgery, and the story's crazy because I got injured at Ohio State. Right across the street from the stadium, they have a nationally recognized spinal cord center right there. If I would have got hurt at Penn State, they would have to airlift me to Hershey. That would have been precious time. It would have been bad. So it's so crazy how that worked out, where I got hurt at Ohio State. I had a great surgeon out there, gave me the best chance for recovery. They flew me back here to Thomas Jefferson. I was there for intensive care for about 3 weeks. Then I went to a place called McGee Rehab right here in Philly.
Yes.
And when I got there, I remember walking in, or not walking in, but wheeling me in, and I see all these people with ventilators and unable to breathe on their own. I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm around all these disabled people. And I was like, man, that's when it hit me. Like, man, that's me. That's my life now. And I got there and I just cried. The first night there, I was just like, I can't believe this happened. And I remember my dad telling me, like, hey, cry, get it out. And from this point forward, we're just going to work towards getting you better. And I tell people, my therapists were angels. They every day. They worked with me. We did 6 hours of therapy every day. And about 2 months in, I couldn't move anything. And my parents had went home for the night. I'm laying there in the hospital bed, and my physical therapist looks down at the end of my bed and she says, Adam, your toe is moving. And I said, it is? Because I've become so accustomed to trying to move something and nothing moving. So she said, try to do it again. And I was able to move it. And my parents came back. It was like midnight. My parents came back to the hospital. We had like a party in the hospital room because I was finally moving. And that's where the progress really started. And I got put into a clinical trial where they put you in a parachute harness over a treadmill, and they simulate the walking motion. I couldn't walk, but I had therapists really just moving my legs for me.
Sure.
And now that's the standard of care.
Yeah.
And it really helped me kind of the mind and the body remember what it was like to walk again.
Right.
And
you almost have to connect the two again, right? Like
exactly.
That's your spinal cord, which is almost connects it right to your brain and understanding.
And you're spot on. And that's where I was so fortunate that I didn't have a complete injury where I cut my spinal cord. It was just severely bruised. So there was some signal still getting down there. And after about 8 months, I was able to get out of there and, I was walking with crutches at the time, hand crutches. And even to this day, I mean, my right side still never fully came back. But I said, if that's the case, I could work with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I look at you today, dad, right? Obviously successful attorney, the whole thing. And I think back, and I remember you telling me the story about the kids that you shared the room with. There was the kid that was from North Philly that got shot. That's
the thing. And ironically, when I was there, I was 18, and it was like 5 or 6 other guys, all within 18 to 22. And unfortunately, as the kid you knew, he was got shot. Another kid was on a dirt bike running from the police and fell off. And you just hear some amazing stories, and you realize how fortunate you are. I grew up in Voorhees. I didn't have really any adversity in my life. That was my first adversity. But you hear about the stories and the trauma that these people dealt with, and you form a bond, a brotherhood with these individuals, because it could be a very isolating feeling when you're in the hospital for 8 months and you feel like you're the only person who's going through this injury. So I leaned on them, and they helped me get through it. And we all have gone our separate ways, and unfortunately, some of them have passed away or have gone back to that life. But every day for me now is a blessing. Just being able to get up, talk to you guys, walk on my own is something that I don't take for granted anymore.
We talk about this, and we started the conversation talking about the landscape of college football and how it's changed, right? NIL and portal and all. And I go back to you, and I think this is why these players deserve compensation. Yeah. Like, that's sport, and we love the sport. Listen, we love it. That entertainment, it's the greatest thing in the world. But it comes with great risk. And that's what I mean. I mean, I look at these kids. I mean, they deserve this compensation, let alone what it generates from a revenue standpoint because of television. Mm-hmm. The risk that these players take every day is real.
It's 100% a real risk. And that's why, people see me, I wear Penn State stuff almost every day, because the reason I do it is, of course, I love the university, but when I had this injury, there was they didn't have to keep my scholarship. They didn't have to, make sure that I graduated, but Coach Paterno, that entire school stuck by me. And the big thing is, my insurance covers all the stuff that's associated with my injury. But there's times where you need equipment or things that insurance doesn't cover. 25 years later, I can call up Penn State and say, hey, my insurance isn't covering whatever it is. We got it. There's no question. I'm like, do you need me to send you a receipt? No, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And that's the thing. I'm like, a lot of those folks that were at Penn State when I was there, they're all gone now.
Yeah.
But the fact that they still are there for me, and they're like, hey, you got injured here. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of. That's priceless to me. And I so appreciate, Coach Franklin, our president, Ben DePuti, our athletic director, Pat Kraft. They treat me like family. And it's just, and not just me. Any person that's gone through there gets that same treatment. And I can't speak enough about what they've done for me over these last 25 years and what they still do for me to this day. It's an amazing place.
You got to tell the story and the relationship with you and Joe Paterno.
Yeah.
Because listen, what happened was horrible at the school. We talked about that in the past.
Yep.
And it's a shame because it tarnished his legend and what he was. And I feel, as a Paterno fan, I always felt bad about that. I was disappointed at his reaction. What he did with you, it was a beautiful kind of relationship. So please tell that.
Yeah, I mean, it was well documented. Coach Paterno and freshmen, a lot of times you didn't exist in his world because, he really didn't play freshmen. He didn't allow us to talk to the media. So prior to my injury, he recruited me. I was on the team, but I didn't have much interaction with him. But after I got hurt, I learned so much about the man and the person. And he would come down to the hospital every week. He would fly down to McGee Rehab, And when he came in, he was like a celebrity, and he would come to see me. But then the thing that I loved is he would stop by every room on my floor just to sign autographs and meet people. And that made these patients, year getting to meet Coach Paterno. When I got back to Penn State, I dreaded walking into the football building because he would say, hey, what do you want to do with your life? What are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And he pushed me every day to figure out. And he said, did you ever think about law? So he pushed me towards the law field.
Wow, Joe Paterno is the one who pushed you toward law?
Before Joe became a football coach, he was going to be a lawyer. He went to Brown University, and he was gravitating towards the law field, but then he decided to get into coaching, and he told me those stories, and he set me up with an internship with Doug Allen, who was the vice president of the NFL Players Association. Doug Allen was a Penn Stater, and they took me down there for a year, and then I worked with Gerald Colton, who was a sports agent. I worked with Gerald. Worked with Gerald for a year, and that's why I went to law school, because I wanted to be a sports agent. And
I remember you when you were going through that. You were thinking about that
because I was like, oh, my buddies are going on to play in the NFL, and then I realized like these dudes are crazy, man. I can't base my livelihood on the decisions of crazy football players. So I went the corporate route, but I say he stuck by me. He was a great, just hard to put into words. Of course we all, the way things ended is still tough and sad to think about. But personally, the way that he impacted my life. Something I'll always be thankful for.
I thought it was beautiful that he would visit you so often. Like
during the season, every week, every Thursday, they would fly from State College. He would bring a couple assistant coaches and 3 or 4 players, and they would spend 2 hours with me every Thursday.
Wow!
During the season, then they fly back that night, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And like that every Thursday he would take another coach or whatever and a couple players and the group and come see you and spend time with you.
That was the highlight of my week. Of course, my parents were there, my brother were there every day, but each week I would want to show them that I was doing something different. So I still remember like when I was starting to walk and they hadn't seen me stand up out of my wheelchair and they came in and they were coming to shake my hand. And I remember like pressing up to stand up and I stood up and was able to shake their hands. And again, it was like awesome, man.
That's awesome.
Did you have a lot of anticipation wanting to do it? For
every week, like something would move and I'd be like, all right. When they Thursday, I got to show them like this is happening and we were going through a tough year that season, that 2000 season. I think we got off to like a 3-5 or 3. It was bad. We were having a tough season, but for them, it was me helping them inspire them, but they also inspired me because these are my guys, my teammates, my coaches, and to see that they didn't forget about me was awesome. So I would see them Thursday, then Saturday, watch them every Saturday on TV because I was there in the hospital. And I was just so excited to get back that next season and be around the guys.
You got to know Joe Paterno as a man. Yeah. Like you guys, I'm sure you had like true, real kind of conversations and discussions.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it was never based around football. Like I said, it happened during the middle of the football season, but he would just share stories about his life and things that inspired him, and he would share inspirational quotes and books that he wanted me to read. And I just like, man, I never knew this side of coach. And I felt like I really knew him better than a lot of the players because I had that one-on-one time with him to just talk about life. And I say he was one of the most intellectual and caring people that I ever met in my life. And I just felt so fortunate to have that time with him as a person as opposed to the player-coach relationship.
Your mom didn't like football.
Still doesn't to this day.
Yeah. And obviously, your dad was a football fan.
Yeah.
How did he, and I have 2 sons that both play football.
Yeah.
And how did your dad reconcile with the injury? Because that's traumatic.
Yeah. I still, to this day, I feel like it impacted him more than
I can only imagine
myself.
His guilt. Like, and not that it's like, you're as a parent, you're going, well, there's so much good that football brings, like life lessons that help set you up for life. Mm-hmm. And then this tragedy happens, and you're going, oh my God, maybe I should have, steered him away from football to avert this tragedy.
Yeah, no, my dad, he was my first football coach when I was 7 years old. Played for the Voorhees Vikings, and I remember in high school, I would just see how proud he was. I was doing well, And then when I got to Penn State, he was a Temple guy. He was a Temple guy too. And just how proud he would. I remember seeing him talk to his friends like, "My son's going to Penn State."
Yeah.
And when I got there, he would come in put his 43 jersey on and be so proud. But when I got injured, I could just see how hard it was on him. I mean, but the thing that I tell you is that he cried a lot, he told me, but I never saw him cry.
No.
He would leave the room and
Right.
go out, and he became like my third physical therapist. I mean, I tell you, he read everything that you could find out about spinal cord injuries, and every day he would come in and he's like, "All right, Adam, let's stretch your arms, let's stretch your legs, try to move this, try to move that." And he was like the Rock. My mom was like the Rock, but I said I wouldn't have got through it without both of my parents. And even to this day, he's like, well, I have a son now, and he's like, "Oh, would you want him to play?" I'm like, "I don't, my son's a baseball guy, so we haven't had that conversation yet." But I said, I'm just thankful to have had him going through that process. He was there every day. I mean, him and so the way that it worked, and for the 8 months, my mom would come from 8 in the morning. When I woke up, my mom was there from 8 to 1. She'd go home to pick up my brother from school, and as she was leaving, my dad would come in, and he would stay until I went to sleep. So every day I had a parent there all day, just making sure I was good. And now that I'm a parent, I realize,
how comforting, how that meant to have them in the room with you.
Yep.
And you're looking again. You're with a group of guys, young people that didn't have parents, that came from these homes that you think about a difficult lot in life, the loneliness, the without the guidance, the support, the true unadulterated love. You as a father know the love, that unconditional love that pulses through your veins.
We got kids, and I think about like how I would react if my son or daughter was in that. I don't know how. I don't think I'd be able to like handle it. Because you immediately just, I want to switch positions with you. I'll take that bullet. And I give him so much credit because mentally, I don't know how I would be able to handle something like that, whatever happened to one of mine.
I'll never forget, there was my Anthony had to be, 5 years old. And it was a Saturday night, and he was burning up like one of these horrible fevers, and he had a rash.
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other, and we don't want to wait until Monday, and right away. So we go. So I take him to the emergency room, and like you talk about a parent like breaking, like your heart breaks. I would never forget. I have him. His head's on my shoulder. He's burning up, and he's crying, and he's like weepy, not even. And I remember thinking the same thing, like, I need to switch places. Please, God, let me switch places with him right now. And, and then I'm running, like, they're like, hurry up, go, because it was late. It was Saturday. We needed to get the med. It turned out he had scarlet fever.
Oh, my gosh.
And, like, we were worried for the whole thing. And I'm rushing to the emergency room. Then we had to go to another hospital. And, like, you could only imagine. And I think back to your situation of your parents and you now as a dad, how important that support is.
Yeah, and I think it's impacted me in good ways and bad ways, because now that I have kids, I'm like that overly protective.
Yes.
Like if you're riding your bike, they haven't even like got out the garage. I'm like, where's your helmet at? Because I've seen so many crazy. When you're in a hospital for 8 months, you hear so many crazy stories about how people get these injuries. And people ask me, would I let him play football if he wanted to? Because I feel like, it'd be like lightning striking twice. These injuries don't happen too often. And I tell people, as you mentioned, the life lessons I learned playing football are priceless. The things that coaches used to yell at me are stuff that I still think about. I had a coach in high school that would always say, don't talk about it, be about it. And, in work and in life, you hear about people talking about something, but no one takes action. And I always think about all these little life lessons I learned that really helped me get through life to this day.
Adam, can I ask you, did you have to do any like mental therapy work, PTSD or anything? I'm a broken neck survivor.
Oh, wow.
And just hearing you tell your story like triggers me, because I deal with PTSD. So I was like a little triggered. Yeah. Did you have to work through anything like that?
I never professionally like had those type of conversations, but looking back, it probably would have helped me, because it hit me the most when I got back to Penn State, and I went through this crazy, journey, as I'm sure you did. And then when I get back to Penn State, I remember my first day back was over the summer, and we're in the locker room with the guys, and I see everyone putting on their helmets and their shoulder pads, and here I am, I can't play anymore. And that's when I started to like mentally be like, man, this sucks. Like, and then I was torn because who am I to be upset that I can't play football while I'm here walking?
Right.
I just left all these other people that are just wishing they could be where I'm at walking again. So that was the tension that I always had while I was at Penn State. It was like feeling sad that I couldn't play football anymore, but then feeling guilty that I got so much back, and yet I'm worried about playing a sport. So and I say that never goes away. I'll still have dreams about playing football, and it's always like my most common dream is I'll be in the locker room and I'll be missing a piece of equipment. Like I won't be able to find my helmet. Sure. Or I won't be able to find my cleats, and that's the reason I can't play. And I still have it from time. It's the weirdest thing.
Wow.
It's
almost like your mind kind of working through that day, like where it's still like hoping that I don't have my helmet, so now I can't go out and I can't get injured.
Yeah.
Have you watched the play? Are you able to watch the play and be not triggered or anything?
Yeah, that was. I remember about 2 months after my injury, we were watching the Penn State game on TV, and they started talking about my injury. It was during the season, and they replayed the injury, and that was the first time I saw it. My mom was like, "Oh my God, turn off the TV." But for me, I wanted to see how it happened, and now I've seen it so many times. It doesn't even feel like it's me out there anymore.
Right.
But I totally get. And I didn't know that story, but it's something that I still every day. It's been this year. It'll be 24 years since my injury. Every day I think about it, and it's something I don't think. I thought after 5 years I'd get over it, but even to this day, I still think about this injury. And the thing, I don't have any regrets. But I always just wonder, what could have been, because a lot of guys I played with, guys that backed me up, they all played in the NFL, and I'm like, man, I would have loved to have seen how far I could have taken it.
Your trajectory was probably taking you there.
Yeah, I would have said at least I would have gotten a shot.
Yeah,
and I just would have loved to have seen, where it could have gone. And but I to this day, I just feel so blessed because if I would have gone, I would have not have met my wife, wouldn't have had the kids that I have today. So I said, there's blessings and the thing that this injury taught me, and I'm sure with your injury and all of us, is when you go through adversity, it teaches you to truly appreciate every day.
Yeah. And like your pathway, because everybody's path is different and everybody has their own obstacles and everything. Yeah. But, and we all, in times of solitude, we all have those moments of, man, I wish I would have done this. And that would have completely changed my life and my path life. I do believe that you're kind of guided in this sense, and you became this. Let's face it, the poster child for injuries, like this serious injury, and you've handled it with amazing grace and true strength.
No, and I appreciate it. And I'll just say again, it's just I've been blessed to be surrounded by great people, and when I had my injury, all I had to do was worry about getting better. I had to worry about how I was going to pay for it. I had to worry about the support. I had that all built in, and that's why we created the foundation. I have a foundation to help provide that same type of experience that I had. We want everyone to have that same experience. And I look back and we've seen each other on baseball fields. So what I said, if I had one regret, it's like I never played baseball growing up. I truly have just fallen in love with the game of baseball. I never understood it, never played it growing up, but now that I watch it every weekend. This is a great sport, man. I wish I would have tried it.
There's nothing like it's a happy place. Yep. There's nothing like watching your kids play, And like my Moss plays, baseball, and out every weekend at those tournaments, and we're there, and you see it, and it's just it's a great feeling.
I love it. Our coach, my guy Kevin Carroll is a coach. My kid's coach played college baseball, and you know how we see the parents on the sideline that are yelling, and I stand there. I be quiet because our coach has forgotten more about baseball than I'll ever know. He's been great for the kids. And it's for me. It's like whatever kids are doing that makes them happy. He could be a swimmer. He could be fencing. Whatever it is that.
But they got to do something.
They got to do something besides play Fortnite and Nintendo Switch. But. With the college football, I haven't played video games since college, though. I said college was the most competitive video games that we played Madden nonstop.
Yes.
And now that, college football is back out. I'm contemplating getting it because I got my son's got to have that experience of playing college football on PlayStation, you know?
I mean, it's unbelievable. Have you seen any of the clips of it? Of the
Oh
game?
my God. I've seen, I mean, just, you know, in the Penn State community, everyone
yeah.
shows that opening with like the
line
opening up the game. And the guys, it is so authentic, man, because, you know, for all of us that have been to the game, that they captured it beautifully. And that's the, like, oh man, that feeling gives me chills.
Do me a favor. In your mind's eye, explain to us what that opening is like.
Yeah.
From the time the gate opens, you're out of the tunnel and you look up in a whiteout, or you look up at that stadium, no matter it's prime time or, you know, a noon on an autumn Saturday. What do you see?
I tell people, and I'll give you this perfect example. After I got injured, they said, Adam, we want you to lead the team out the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm still walking with crutches. I'm like, I don't know if we're playing Miami 0-1. And that was the 0-1 Miami team that won the national
Shockey.
It was Shockey, McGahee.
Yeah, Wills McGahee.
Oh, they had like 11 first rounders.
I was at that game.
Yeah, you were there.
With Mike Miss,
Yeah. So they're like, lead the team. And I'm like, all right, I'll just walk out. And I remember getting to the gate and they like put me on the big screen, and I like heard the crowd, and they opened up the gate, and I just start walking out. And as I'm walking, I hear like the crowd, and it's like, you know how it is. The crowd, like the noise just goes through you. I'm like, man, I'm gonna try to like jog. I'm gonna try to run. And I was able to like jog real quick for like five yards. And I say it was that loud, like we are, and it just gets through you. And I haven't run since that day. Wow. I have not run again. And I say it's just that opening, like when you hear that crowd noise and you see this the mass of people, it's no feeling in the world like coming out of that tunnel in front of 108,000 people. And I said they inspired me to run, and they inspire that team every Saturday in the fall. And it's just, again, I will be the first to say I'm biased, but there's no atmosphere like that, pregame. But I said once you get out there, it's like you're playing little league high school football again. You kind of forget about the crowd, but that pregame is awesome, man.
Awesome. My God! I remember that day. You want to talk about just, the people just felt you, right? And energy. Like it is a lesson about the energy of people and what collective energy can do. And I believe, I believe that collective energy allowed you to run.
Yeah. I would say, I know you got a great studio here, but you guys got to do a road show for a PSU game.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And for those who haven't experienced it, and I said with the newly expanded Big Ten this year, like we got UCLA coming in.
It's going to be incredible. I mean, it's unbelievable. You look at the history of the schools, and look, I think we're arcing towards two almost AFC, NFC, where you'll have a Big Ten and an SEC and whatever they call them.
Yep.
I mean, we're almost having, I think we're kind of with divisions in each thing, like which would make so much sense. When I think about college football, just to kind of lighten it up a bit, I could see it almost like the NFL model with the conferences and the divisions. And then you could have, because there's so many programs, you could actually institute like a relegation system, like because you could have the rest of the teams competing for a lower championship, and how they come up to the A League, and teams go down.
No, I wholeheartly agree with that, and I just think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
I would love to see it. I mean, all of us, we've been waiting for like just even a 12-team playoff. So I remember when I was in college, we were like, oh, it'd be so cool if we could have a playoff and get out of this, bowl system type structure. And the thing now is, with these bowls that aren't playoff bowls, like Penn State played Ole Miss last year, and half of our team opted out because no one's playing in a game where you can, get injured for a meaningless exhibition game. So I love that where we're at now. But your concept, having these two divisions, these two conferences, it's got to get there.
Yeah,
it's got to.
It just makes too much. It makes too much sense. And to your point, like the bowl games, it's the only way to make them relevant, right? Like, and I remember watching that game and going, if these teams were stacked, like to what they were, it would have been a fun game to watch. But without all the opt-outs
Yeah.
and you have the coaching movement, and it's just a mess. And it's like it's a meaningless exhibition. So like that piece of it has to get figured out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I was at Penn State, we hate to say it, we only went to one bowl game in my 4 years there. We Capital One game, and that was the year we had 4 guys. First, Larry Johnson was our running back. We had 4 first rounders. And they all played in the bowl game. But I'm like, if that were today, none of those dudes would have played. We had a great, we were walking around Disney World. We had a great time that week. And we played an Auburn team, like Cadillac. Remember
Cadillac.
Ronnie
Cadillac
Brown.
Williams,
But all those dudes played. But in today's times, that wouldn't happen. And you'd be foolish to play.
Right.
And you hear about some of these injuries that affect your draft stock and all that good stuff. But to your point, if we can do something to make these games relevant and meaningful, then we're back in action.
Do you like the NFL?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. The thing that really got we moved to where we live at I moved there 14 years ago, and 2 years later, this dude pulls up.
Big guy.
Yeah, my guy, and I've always been an Eagles fan, man. But just being able to be with him and go to training camp and see
Big Dom.
Big Dom is
the guy. We're all live close to one
Big Dom
another.
lives like right across the street from me, and he's just been such an awesome. I know he doesn't like to be talked about a lot, but he's been such a good dude, man. With just getting us like, how it is, just behind the scenes and seeing all that cool stuff. So for me, I'm an Eagles guy, and I'll be the first to admit I watch the Eagles, but I don't watch the whole. I watch any college football game.
Yeah. I know you do. I know you have the college game. Do you like the high school game?
I do. I'm down in Kingsway. I will go. I went to Eastern. So I'll watch them. But the thing, I feel like I'm like Al Bundy now. I look back, I'm like, oh man, those guys back in my day, because it just looks so much slower now. And I'm like, I feel like we would have dominated back then. So I'm sure that's not the case. But I say high school is kind of like my third tier. But I'll go college and NFL. Then if it's a good high school game, I'll check the high school game out. But like I say, even high school, I'm a high school baseball guy, man. I like Gloucester Catholic.
Yes,
I went to like 5 or 6 Gloucester Catholic.
Did you
games
really?
This year, man, because they're
you got the baseball bug.
Oh man, because where the kids train at a place called the Den, and Gloucester Catholic, from January, we're just watching those guys train, and they're all young dudes, and they're number one team in state. They're number one in the state of New Jersey, and my guy Lynham, he plays third base at Gloucester Catholic. Man, I just love the amount of work that goes into it. Football, you kind of show up, you lift some weights, but just the training and the skill and the detail that goes into baseball is impressive.
Well, it's funny because don't minimize football because football's arduous, all right? Football's not fun. But it is interesting because, especially around here, because of the weather, you're indoors January, February, and, a good bit of March, and then the season will start. But you're in the doors, 3-4 nights a week, and that sound, right?
Man.
There's the ping sound of every ball being hit, it's funny. It's like reverberates in my brain.
I talked to you offline. So what we're trying to do at my house, I want to build a batting cage in the backyard.
Nice.
I want to build so we had a guy come out.
That's a good idea. So I've been wanting to do that for a while too.
So we had a guy come out last week. So, hey, we're going to put a batting cage in our backyard. What do you think it would cost? What do you think ballpark to build a batting cage in your backyard?
That's with the machine and everything?
With the machine, some turf.
Yeah.
12 G's.
No, more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Because I remember trying to figure it out. It was somewhere around 24, 25.
So I was shocked. The guy, 32,000.
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I said, I want to put a baseball field in the backyard. I had no idea.
I remember trying to think the same thing to do that for Massimo.
30.
And it was like 20,000. I was like,
I didn't even know. I was in shock.
Yeah.
So I said, we'll keep going to Ella Harris.
Yeah.
We'll keep going to the park because that idea is down the drain.
Was it Doc's dad who built the mound in the basement?
I'm not
Someone's
sure.
dad built a mound in their basement.
Well, Piazza, and of course, the story of Mike Piazza, Vince had the car dealership, right? His dad. And he had a batting cage at their house. And Mike, all he did was hit.
Yeah.
And he became a great Major League Baseball because he just hit every day.
That's it. Now I watch all these Instagram videos on baseball because I know nothing about baseball. But like you said, just swinging, just hitting every day. I'm like, if we have something in the backyard, you can do that every day.
That's not
not for 30,000.
It's not an invoice you can slip to the Penn State office. They don't want your receipts. This equipment is pretty expensive.
Man. But it's funny. But listen, football is work, right? Like, my kids, so Anthony's been out, let's see, he started, and it's so different nowadays than when or obviously you, Anthony started the beginning of June for workouts. Yeah. And then and they've been going 4 days a week.
Really?
Yeah. Since then.
How old is he now?
So he's 14. He's going into his freshman year at St. Augustine.
Oh man!
So
that's awesome.
It's fun. Like he's lifting. And I see the difference in him. Right? Yeah. I'm like, dude, look at yourself. Just walking around. Daddy was hot. His shirt off. And I go, dude, you look good, dude.
Yeah.
Look at it. This is what it does. All that running, all that lifting. He's still like a little stud.
I know we talked about it offline, but we know where we got to get him to. we got to get him in the blue and white 3 or 4 more years. And the thing that's so cool is, a lot of the coaches, our defensive line coaches from Philly, and offensive line coaches, Eastern guy, Coach Troutwine, coach the offensive line up there. So we got a lot of local ties to the Nittany Lions. So we got to make that happen.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's just, it's like the season starting, and I just again I love how I love your messaging. Yeah. I think it's so important for people to hear you speak. No, you're an amazing speaker. The way you talked about McGee Rehab, and those angels that you talked about that were with you, the closeness that you still to this day have with them.
Yeah, McGee, like I said, I have a foundation. McGee is our partners in everything we do. A lot of the patients that we benefit are McGee patients. And the thing that I tell people all the time is that, these men and women that work there, they could be doing so many other things with their time and talent, but they've chosen to dedicate themselves to helping people get better. And my therapist, I'm sure they had bad days, stuff going on at home, but every day that they came into work, they had a smile. They inspired me, and every day they're inspiring patients. I had to go back there 3 years ago. I had a brain hemorrhage, and I had to go back to McGee. It was like Groundhog's Day. I had to go there for a month to relearn. Because, with these injuries, if you're laid in bed, I was in bed for a month, and then when I tried to get up, I couldn't walk. So I had to you got to go back to McGee and relearn how to walk again.
Wow.
And I was there again, and just the same thing, 20 years, 15 years later, same people still pushing to get better. And they got me out of there, taught me how to walk again. And so for that place, I say that's a place that will always be special to my heart. And to have it right here in Philadelphia is a blessing. You got people that come from all across the country to come to McGee and get better. And it's just it's a blessing to have those folks here.
Yeah, they're amazing. Tell people about the foundation real quick and how they can check out what you're doing.
Yeah, the foundation was created right after my injuries, Taliaferrofoundation.org, and it's entirely volunteer. People will say no one takes a salary. Every dollar that we bring in goes towards helping patients, and we just had a 7-on-7 tournament over at Total Turf in down in South Jersey, and we do a golf outing. So we do 3 or 4 events throughout the year, trying to raise funds to help people with these injuries. We provide financial support. My role is to provide that emotional support. So I get calls all the time. Hey, my son had this injury. Can you talk to him? Yeah, let's get on the phone and talk about it, because that helped me. I tell people all the time, when I had my injury, Christopher Reeve, Superman.
Yes.
I would talk to him. And then when I got out of McGee, I went up to his house to rehab. And for me as a kid, we all love Superman. To be able to have him be that source of inspiration was the coolest thing. And I will always remember what he did for me when I was going through my injury, because he had a spine. Of course, unfortunately, he passed away. But being able to talk to someone that had been through it, and for me to be able to talk to Superman about it was the best experience in the world.
Yeah, that's an incredible experience. Adam, we love you. Adam Taliaferro, you are.
Appreciate it.
You're the greatest, man.
No, appreciate you guys.
Penn State looks to be preseason ranked 7th. They're going to finish 7th or better.
There we go. That puts us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't wait for Aller. Can't wait to see him. It's going to be great.
True.
We are.
Penn State.
There it is.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to the great Adam Taliaferro for VG and everybody else here at PHLY. Thanks, guys, for hanging. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Adam. And do us a favor, give us likes and follows, and tell your friends. Everybody have a great day. We love you. We'll be back in the morning. Talk some Phillies. Have a great night.
We all silly like the mayor.